talk with every sip and laugh. Coffee's the fuel, martini's the craft. Conversation swirling in the cool night air. Talk the walk.
Good morning, Alan. How's that martini today?
I think we could go 7 days a week with this. I have enough different shirts.
Okay, different shirts. Would you mix up the martini? Would you add a bit of lychee in there? Would you add a bit of a twist? What would you do? Or same
Yeah, I
drink?
think so. Yeah, some cheese stuffed olives. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I actually had garlic stuffed olives once in a martini, and it was surprisingly good.
Yeah, okay. I've never even thought about combination, but
Nor would I.
it's quite exotic. It is a beautiful spring day here in Brisbane. You're heading into fall. Are the leaves turning on your property?
Oh no, it's too early. If they won't turn for another 2 weeks or so, but it's 75 degrees today,
Mhm.
Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
So that's pretty damn good. Top
Yeah,
down
it
weather.
is.
Yeah.
It is top down weather, same for me. Yeah, because in summer here, I can basically drive with the car at before 7 AM or after 5 PM, otherwise it's too hot, but right now
Yeah.
it's all day. Hey, so let us know where you're joining us from, what the weather is like where you are. And today, Alan, we're talking about, communities and clients, a couple of C words here, how to create a community of clients. You do this incredibly well. What's interesting, I guess what's interesting for you about this topic?
Well, it's become so popular that I actually wrote a book. I published a book called "Building Professional Business Communities." It came out, God, so many of them. It came out a year ago, um, and I'm also very much interested in evergreen clients. So, for example, I work with Merck for 12 years. I work with Hewlett Packard for 10 years. I work with the American Press Institute for 20 years, and you can do this because large organizations have a multiplicity of buyers. So, my first piece of advice is don't just interact with your buyer. Worse, let your buyer delegate you to somebody else, and you never see a buyer again. But get to know the buyer's direct reports. It's very important to get to know the buyer's assistants because if the buyer leaves or something happens, you call the assistant, say, where do you go? I know a lot of you use LinkedIn to track people, which I think is a very good idea. I'll give you a quick example. When I was at Merck, I met all the division heads. I worked for the division heads, and one of them was John Zabriskie, who was head of the division of animal health at the time. Merck has since sold that, but these pharmaceutical companies have done wonderful work for animals because they use animals before they go to humans. Mm. And John was very, very successful. And so he left and he became CEO of Upjohn, a large pharmaceutical company. And, I dropped him a note and said, hey, John, good luck. He said, what do you mean good luck? Come up here with me. And so Upjohn became a client. And he was known to be very difficult. So when I got to Upjohn, and his reputation preceded him, these people were assigned to wrangle me, get me to lunch. And they said, you worked successfully with John Zabriskie? I said, yeah, he's a great guy. So anyway, that's how you can sort of maintain contact and get on the same train they're on.
Yeah, there's a lot in that. I think, first of all, assistants for sure. I think they're definitely underrated, and often they outlast a lot of the people that I work with many leaders who have assistants that have been there at the company for 20 years, and they remain there. Then there's the other thing around cracking into a large business. But I also reflect on even a client gig I did recently. I met her a few years ago. She was working for a mining company, and now she works in aviation, and she's brought me in to work there. So how do people, like, I was lucky. I mean, I've come from a big corporate background working with global companies where my career was sort of had started from. For those that haven't had that experience, how do you crack into those global organizations?
Well, the best way is for referrals, always the best way. And so you meet somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and you work your way up the staircase till you find a buyer. That's the best way to do it. But I'll give you a shortcut that's worked out very well for people in my community. And that is, Portugal. I'm going to be in Portugal in April. Maybe I told you that already. I'm looking for free food, right? So we'll consult for food. Oh, God. So, but the shortcut is that you look for local organizations that have parents in other places.
Uh-huh.
even overseas.
Yep.
So you get into Toyota here because you know somebody who works for Toyota, but then you inquire about the parent in Japan, or vice versa. I worked for State Street here, and State Street sent me around the world because they have uh, global operations as a financial organization. And so you can make those kinds of trade offs. Another way to get Evergreen clients is to provide them, once they're your client, to constantly provide them with value. You don't have to charge for every piece of good advice. You have to charge for everything you do for them.
Yeah.
And I worked for Calgon for 5 years, and I was on retainer to advise the CEO. And he calls me once and he says, Alan, I got a great favor to ask you. I said, what's that? He said, I need you to come out this coming weekend, Saturday and Sunday. He says, I know it's football. I know you have family, but we had a crisis, an ethical crisis in the company. I've called everybody in. It's costing me $400,000. And I have to have them hear the message. You need to run this for me.
Mm.
I said, Fred, don't worry. I'll be there. I'll come out Friday night. And so, it was, did cut into my schedule, but I owed him that, and he never forgot it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, responding to things graciously, I've always thought one of the great characteristics of a leader, and I've probably said this here before, is generosity.
Mm. Yeah, it is that interesting question of like what you charge for when you're generous and things like that. I'm just going to share a few hellos that we've got. G'day, Wade. Wade is joining us from Seattle. Wade and I have met in person in New York City. We've been connected virtually for years. So great to see you here, Wade. Jan, again, is in Portugal. I think every time Jan's on the call, you're swapping notes. And one day, I'm sure, no doubt, Jan will be leaving his phone number for you to connect with him in Portugal. Lisa is in from Sydney, Australia. Great to see you all. Let us know what questions you have.
And I just wonder if Lisa's related to Michael Harrison, who was a coaching client of mine for a while.
Okay, well, we'll throw that to Lisa as
See what
well.
she
And
says, right?
yeah, so I want to talk about the like maintaining relationships with your clients and how do you do that over the years? You talked about reaching out to someone that had moved companies and you wished him good luck. What are specific strategies for keeping in touch with people? Do you actually corral them? I know you've got a community of consultants. How did you nurture your relationships with your corporate clients?
Right. That's a good question, because a retail business acting with individuals is much easier to form community than wholesale, which is corporate.
Yeah.
Much easier with individuals. So in corporate settings, and Zoom brings this a bonus here, social media brings a bonus to this. You've got to find people who don't compete head to head, but who have synergies and need to hear from other people. Now, some have formalized this. There's Vistage, which is in the US and maybe overseas. Nancy McKay, who was a client of mine for a long, long time in Canada, has McKay Associates. And she runs these groups of business owners who get together through leaders, through facilitators. And so I think you have to find people who don't directly compete, but who have a like mind and are impacted by similar things. So, for example, everybody today is impacted by AI.
Yeah.
Everybody today is impacted by remote workers, and I could go on and on. So, supply chains. And so, if you can find that commonality, people will respond. And if you can make it easy, they don't have to go to a breakfast somewhere. They can do it remotely. It becomes better. The thing about solo people, by the way, the reason they're so easy to corral into communities is that they're lonely.
Yeah.
They're professionally lonely,
Yes.
right? And you and I and others are refugees from large companies where we had a lot of resources and people around us. So when people have people around them and they can just chat every day, but that's changing because the more people who work remotely are becoming lonely.
So there's actually a real opportunity there.
Yes, I call this collegially lonely, because they might have family, they might have a dog, they might live in the basement with their parents, but they're collegially lonely. So they're rife now. They're appropriate to join communities.
Yeah. Hey, you spoke about again, so many places I can go with this. You spoke about AI before. And so there's an opportunity. We're all being disrupted by it. We're all sort of thinking about what do we do with AI. But I'm not an AI expert. I tinker with AI a lot. I'm really curious around it. But I don't, when it comes to, let's say, hosting an event about AI, I don't think I'm the expert to do that. But it is something that would draw people in. So how do you navigate that?
Well, what's your expertise? Define your expertise for a corporation.
I would say helping them to build influence within the business, so to drive change, and yeah.
Right. So your topic is the proper role and the do's and don'ts for AI in building strong and long-lasting relationships.
Okay. So just link
So,
it into
so
your, got it.
yeah,
Yeah.
because it's a tool. So you're not talking about how you create AI or who administers AI, but you're talking about the fact, just as you might talk about using social media or using, or the way finances look, you incorporate it that way. I encourage people
Nice.
not to build themselves as AI experts, but
Yeah.
you and I deal with processes. A lot of these people who are kind enough to come here and watch us deal with processes. Consequently, AI is just another tool we can work in.
Yeah, I love it. That's a really great way of doing it. Thank you. And Luca is joining us from Italy. Great
Ciao, Luca.
ciao. Lisa's saying that Michael could be her brother, but we'll pretend that for the next 30 minutes. And Joel is joining us from Montreal in Canada. So we've got a lot of countries covered here. We've got a bit of a mini community that joins us on
Yeah,
tour
I like
here.
that. Yeah, global. I like that.
I love it too. So how do you define community, Alan?
Community is not a tribe. A tribe is a group of people who are basically non-inclusive. You have to sort of worship the same around the same totem pole. You practice the same rituals. You engage in the same lore, Lore, and so forth. And they don't readily accept. Tribes don't accept people from outside the tribe. They accept people who are from within the tribe, but not from outside the tribe. Communities are inclusionary, not exclusionary. And consequently, communities, as long as you agree to certain basic premises, in my case, it would be, ethical practices in consulting, value-based fees, only dealing with buyers. As long as you might have a different
Yeah.
political view, you
Yeah.
might have a different background, your sex, your gender, excuse me, your ethnicity, your background, all this kind of thing doesn't matter. And so communities are much more encompassing. And whereas a tribe stays formed, communities are porous. People come, people go. And that adds new blood to the community, and that's fine.
Yes, I know you've got your community over at allensforums.com, which I'm a part of, and I've also, like, when I kicked off my podcast 6 years ago, first time facilitator, I started a Facebook group, and a lot of people, joined that, but it's definitely evolved, and people come in and out as well. And there is value, and I think that there's a couple of differences between my community and your community. I see in your community, someone will ask a question, and then there'll be a bit of banter around it, and then 5 minutes later, you'll say, "Hey, I'm doing a webinar on this on this topic now," and then you'll suddenly see like 8 people have bought it. So you've created this. This is where the client, paying clients have come into this. You've created a community that, even without you offering stuff, is very valuable. Because I've met a
Well,
lot of great people, but then you also use it for this evergreen kind of to create clients.
I do offer something very valuable. I offer community, and connectivity is highly valuable because entrepreneurs are lonely, and connectivity is worth a lot. And my community, of course, started far before the internet. And so my community is not just an internet platform. It's live meetings, it's newsletters, it's podcasts, it's videos, and so forth. So
Okay.
some people who are very good clients in strong parts of the community are never on Alan's forums. But I see Alan's forums, for example, as a teaching hospital. So people ask a question and their peers answer it, or their peers suggest things, but I'm the chief of staff. And so I step in when they might be, inadvertently killing the patient. And I say, okay, this is not how we're doing this operation. So,
Yeah.
but for a community, you need a central figure. You need a central, successful, charismatic figure who people can rally around.
Yes.
And I'm not setting myself
Yes.
up as, some cult leader, but I'm saying to you that there has
Mm.
to be a nucleus. There has to be something like that. But what happens then is you draw people who themselves have followers. And I've trademarked the term, the chain reaction of attraction. So I'll attract someone who has 100 people in their community, and 50 of them will come over to my community as well.
Yeah.
And that's a growing phenomenon globally now.
Yeah, it is. And I'm kind of laughing when you talked about, because I think I've been red flagged in your community before for maybe taking a conversation off track. But you talk.
Not you.
I'm sure. I reckon in the early days, but you're setting a precedent for how people operate in your forums, right? I was like, I'm me, red flagged. What? But it sets a tone, and I think it all comes back to that nucleus and who is a person running the community. Because I've joined certain communities, and the figurehead is actually not even present in the community. And so I've kind of tapped out of that because, like, they've kind of outsourced it to their EA. And it's like, well, I've joined because of this person. I don't have any contact with them, so I'm out. And so the best thing about Alan's forums is you're there personally responding, even if it is a red flag. And
Well,
it just,
listen, yeah, for those of you who are watching, I take pictures of beach flags that lifeguards put out. So I have a green flag means great conversation. Yellow flag means watch it. Red flag means we've just ended this conversation, which I put up when it's repetitive of people trying to promote something. But I think that it's important to recognize in communities that you need discipline. You need someone to say, keep these posts shorter. You need someone to say, you're attacking the person, not the idea. Don't do that again.
yeah.
And over the years, and my community is 30 years old, and online is probably 20 years old. Over the years, I've thrown 4 people out, which isn't bad.
No, that's not too bad.
But it got to a point where their own inadequacies were being projected on others, and that I can't stand that. But what happens when you talked about I all of a sudden I have 8 people for a webinar or something. What happens is this intense evangelism, and I've long favored evangelism where you bring clients and prospects together. Also, if you bring your best clients with your next best clients, the next best clients will go up there. So I said, well, Alan coached me, yes, but did you go to thought leadership with him? See, and that's what happens.
Yeah, I've definitely observed what you've done and also brought it into my work. And I think honestly, that's one of the reasons why my event next year sold out so quickly is because of that evangelism effect. So it's nice to join communities and also join the community, but also see how it operates and take that as well. Dee Dee's joining us from Silicon Valley. We have Annette from Sydney, and I want to bring up this comment from Wade. She says, I hear from my community that they are burned out of joining communities. They enjoy absorbing information, but don't really want to interact with others. I find it so interesting. What do you have to say about that, Alan?
Well, that's silly, because nobody forced them to join the communities. If you really enjoy absorbing information, how do you do that if you can't interact with others? Because just absorbing information from a book doesn't help you to learn how to ski.
No.
It doesn't give you, the really best ideas on what doctor to use. So I think that's kind of a contradictory statement. And it's also the statement probably of someone who's not very social.
Yeah. Okay. I like, and I think it also depends on what the involvement of the community is. If it's jumping on Zoom calls every week, I personally won't do that. Like I've signed up for a group thing, but I'm mainly in the forums and looking at, I'm still dabbling in it, but I don't want to jump onto live calls because
There's nothing mandatory in my community.
no,
And some people never comment on the forums; they just read. That's fine.
yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah.
don't use the term lurkers. I don't like it. You can read, take things in. That might be perfect for Wade's friend here.
Yeah.
But I don't believe in mandatory activity. I believe that people should be able to pick and choose. The secret to that is you have to have a variety, a diversity of opportunities for them to learn. So there has to be audio, there has to be video, there has to be text, live things, remote things.
Yeah.
So people can pick something comfortable for them.
Yeah. And what's fascinating, I was talking to someone else who runs a community and she's like, people say they love this, but no one interacts in the forums. And I said to her, do you know what? One of the most dynamic threads in Alan's forums is what to watch on TV.
Right.
Like, we don't have to be so serious and keep it all about the topic all the time. Like I think, and what you talk about is like how to live a great life. So we talk about, cars, television shows, concerts.
Vacations. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what keeps people involved as well. Hey, if you were starting from zero today, let's just say, Alan, something happens, you wake up tomorrow, everything's gone, you got no community. How would you go about building it up again quickly?
I begin providing value to people for free on things that they cannot escape. I provide value on self-esteem. I provide value on dealing with difficult conversations. I provide value on giving yourself permission. I'd use a lot of my psychological background, and I create an aura whereby people said to themselves, I don't know, but I'd better be there, or I don't think I should miss this. And once I hooked them,
Yeah.
then they'd say, I need to come back again. So, you have to whet people's appetite and you have to act in their best self-interest. So, I'll tell you something. We have come a long way in terms of self-help, and it ain't good. We started with the self-help where it was all about how to win friends and influence people, Carnegie's book.
Yeah.
Then Napoleon Hill, who I think is a con man, was a con man, but Think and Grow Rich, right? And then we come to books where it's somebody else's fault. And so there are books like How to Live Without Being Liked, How to Ignore a Critique. There's one that's How Not to Give an F,
The
right?
subtle art of not giving. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've come from, I'm going to build my self-esteem by becoming a better person, to maybe my self-esteem is okay, to it's not me anyway, it's them. And so, my agent is pitching a book right now
Mm.
called Self-Esteem. And the subtitle is The Courage of Your Talent. And I'm convinced that people are having trouble grasping the world and contending with the world because they feel so intimidated. They don't allow their natural talents to come out.
Mm.
But we have to come to a resolution where not everyone's entitled. We have to come to a position where it's not a toxic workplace. It's the fact that you're not working hard enough.
Yeah, as in stop playing putting the blame on someone else and really focusing on yourself. I think you're right. I mean, the toughest competitor in my mind is just myself. It's not anything else. Usually what's stopping me is like what's going on between my ears, nothing else.
Well, there's something else stopping you too. I mean, anybody, and that is
Yeah.
that there is tremendous subliminal normative pressure to conform.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be. See, people are worried too much about being liked and not worried enough about being respected.
Mm.
So this normative effect, fit in, let us like you, be in the community because you're basically lonely. Be in our community, but you have to conform to our beliefs. You have to conform to our style. You have to follow this influencer. And so, my community embraces all kinds of views as long as you're polite and you want to learn and so forth.
Yeah.
And so people learn from each other, and that's ideal.
Yeah. And it's, I guess, spoken about in a mature way. Joel shares, what tools or platforms do you recommend to run communities and why? Well, it really depends on the definition of community. And Alan, has just given examples of different ways to build. I mean, you got, your articles, your email list, etc. I'll quickly jump on this one and then I'll throw to you, Alan. It's interesting. So I found WhatsApp actually has been a really effective way to build community. So I ran a retreat earlier this year. We are still on WhatsApp. Like it is actually incredible, the learning on that. But that's, up to 10 people. My Facebook group is still running. I don't love Facebook, but the reason it works is because people are still on Facebook. So then they see the posts. I also have a private podcast on a tool called Hello Audio, which is a great way to build community as well. And it only goes to people involved in that community. Alan, tools and platforms, I don't know if this is your strong suit, but you do it well.
Well, first of all, I look at platforms, not just as electronic platforms, digital platforms. And so it's important for me to appear at least quarterly live someplace. So I'll be in Chicago next week, the week after that in New York, seeing my clients, people in my community. Chicago is 6 figures to 7. That's the topic. And that's to me a moderately priced program. It's about $4,500 or so. But the week after that is beyond success. What do you do after you're successful? And that's $7,500 a person. So I believe that you have to be live. Then I believe you have to be remote. I have a Zoom series of workshops people pay for. I have free Zoom sessions. I believe you have to be remote. So my tech team takes care of that. They take care of my podcast and so forth. I can't even tell you. I think I use WordPress to get my stuff out. I'm not even sure what the hell I use. I know my tech team puts my podcast on Spotify and Apple and all those kinds of things I can't name, as well as archiving it on my site. I'll tell you what gets tremendous reaction. I'll tell you two things. Every Monday, I have the Monday morning memo, and that's about 10,000 people. And every day, I have a minute with Alan, which is usually 2 or 3 minutes. And both of those things draw tremendous response, outrageous response, because they're brief. You can read Monday morning memo quickly, and a minute with Alan, 3 minutes. But Monday morning memo has a soft sell at the end every single time. And so people sign up for my stuff because they've read down and they see it. And these have been tremendously worthwhile for me, and they keep me in front of people. And if you identify, Joel, who your clients really are, who your ideal clients are, that's the public square that you need to be in. So I don't care if people like me. I care if people respect me. And I don't care if people who are not my ideal clients don't find something interesting. And I'll say one more thing quickly. If you look at the great radio and TV audience builders, Rush Limbaugh and Howard Stern, Don Imus, Johnny Carson, they knew exactly who their audiences were, and they fed
Mm,
value into that audience, and they didn't care about making converts.
mm.
That's how we have to be with our public square.
Yeah, I love that. And I think I'm like a baby, Alan, because like I remember in Vegas, just I think you shared in 1 year how much you actually publish. So this year I'm doing a daily podcast. I'm starting, every Friday I send out my Substack, so-called Work Fame. So I'll put a link to both of those in a second. But I love that, Alan, you've defined community is not only about online, it's you go around, you're hosting live events, you're doing all of that as well. So, and that adds tremendous value too. Lisa
So
loves to,
yeah, it's just say somebody calculated on my tech staff. I have 2,000 contacts a year with people
in the public square.
in my public square.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow. Okay. Lisa, I love the concept of self-compassion, self-esteem with understanding and forgiving your growth areas. Yeah, thank you. It's a lovely addition. So do you think, Alan, do you think every consultant should host a community?
Well, I have news for you. Every consultant has a community. The question is whether you use it or not.
Mm,
It's like saying, well, I'm right-handed, yeah, but I do have a left hand. Should I use that? Well, why not? It's there. So you have a community. Listen, I was in business for years
funny.
before I looked around and realized I had a community. This is before the internet. And so I started putting out a hard copy newsletter, which my wife and I would mail to people. Uh, and that consolidated the community. And then I started my workshops. A lot of the same faces were showing up with people they brought. So you
Mm,
have a community. The question is, do you choose to
mm.
use it? And if you don't choose to use it, it's like putting money under the mattress instead of into an investment. You're not going to get any interest.
Yeah. Okay. I love that example of the handedness and absolutely using it. I think the common denominator, everything we're talking about is capturing that community slash audience, and sometimes it can be interchangeable. Like having a direct contact through an email list. You spoke about back in the day, you would send things out, via postal, but now I don't see enough people actually using their email address, and it's something that I didn't use for years. But you become front of mind, you engage in conversations, and you build up that sort of trust and value every week. So it's back to the basics there. I think that the objection then from anyone when they listen to you having 2,000 contacts yearly is, how do you stop it from being a time suck, like from creating so much work?
Well,
What's
right now, as you and I are talking, and these people are with us, there are people from all over the world on my community, which is 24/7, 365, and they're talking about whatever they choose to talk about on the boards on the platform. So that's going on right now, and I'm not
Mm,
there. Obviously, I'm here. I visit my forums, for example, probably 3 times a day, and I might spend 1 minute there, or I might spend 20 minutes there, and that's about it. So
yep.
that's easy. And I find that if you're in control, I do a lot of coaching like you do, and I have a lot of coaching calls, but I control them. I don't let people go
You
rambling
do.
off,
Yep.
and I keep things concise. So the whole thing is to be in control of what you're doing. And that's what I meant by being the center, the nucleus of this community. You set the rules. I don't let people who just happen to be in my community uh, ask me for information that's in something that other people are paying for. I say, well, if you want that, you
Yeah.
have to send me a check, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I think, when I've been in communities and I've seen the hosts kind of burn out, it's because they really, really care about how other people think and feel, and it can get a little bit awkward with tensions, like in those interpersonal tensions. But I guess you hold the role of, I'm going to enforce and control this. It's kind of, and I'm not here to be liked either. So
Well, those
working
people
on the
you're
same thing.
talking about are concerned about affection.
Yes.
They're concerned that people in the community might not like them. They're concerned that people might leave. I said before, communities are porous. People come and go. People unsubscribe to my newsletters. Doesn't drive me crazy. That's fine.
Love it. Joel's got a follow-up question. Alan keeps referring to his tech staff. How do you think about support staff as a solo consultant? Example, where to find tech staff, percentage of revenue dedicated to support to scale the different aspects of content and community. So
This
first of all, I'll quickly jump in, Al, and then I'll go to you because Joel, we did a whole Talk the Walk episode on this, so I'll link to it in the comments after this. We're talking about not having support in terms of a VA, but you do contract out, Alan.
Yeah, I'm on my third major tech company now. The first one was with me for about 10 years, but then the owner thought he was me and wanted more money. So the second one was with me for 5 or 6 years. She was a client. She has a nice firm, but she violated my own rules, and that is she wanted to keep raising rates without raising value. So I asked around. This is how communities work. I asked around. One of my key clients, with me for 10 years, introduced me to his tech company, and they're wonderful. And
Mm.
so now they're on board for a year or two, and they're doing things the other two never did. And so I just give my tech company, they charge me a monthly fee and a little extra for special events like putting AI on my site. But it's very reasonable. In fact, they're $30,000 or $40,000 a year cheaper than my last one. Can you imagine that? So
Wow, that's
yeah, yeah,
significant.
that's how much I'm saving. So
Yeah.
I just like today I did a workshop this morning on Zoom. And so I have a video from Zoom. I send it to them. I say, please give me a link. The link comes back within 2 hours, and I send it to my client.
Mm.
You can't beat that in terms of service.
Yeah, how good is responsiveness? Like, it is the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah.
So good. Hey, this is the end of our Talk the Walk today. How quickly does it go? I just want to say thank you so much if you've joined us live. Thank you
Yeah.
for jumping in. And if you're watching the recording, like, let us know maybe one thing that you took out from today's episode. Alan, we'll be back again, I think, early October for our next Talk the Walk. It's always a joy talking to you. I learned so much. And thank you for talking the walk today. Thanks for being here.
Leanne, take care. Thank you all.
Cheers.